All right, so this is a topic of actually getting very good interview questions out to candidates and revealing something about the underlying nature of their attributes. One of the strongest attributes to seeing success in a startup is the feeling of gratitude. Now, this is something that we don't typically look for in our fundamental attributes, but I think it's actually very important in terms of how it will affect the culture and actually the dynamic of how a particular employee candidate will perform during their time here at Bukit Vista. So, this is one of the tricks I learned during the interview process myself at Airbnb. And here's a little bit of the history behind it. So, typically, if you were applying for a job at Airbnb back in 2012, the process would take many interviews. Sometimes it would be 10, 15, up to even 20 interviews, I've heard at some point. So each stage you would be interviewed by a different person on the team, and there was a reason to this methodology, which was very long or thorough, depending upon who you asked. So the methodology was based on, does anybody notice any negative attributes about a particular person? And because Airbnb was very committed to preserving the state of its culture at that point, this process was continued up to a very long point. So, one of the things that was the final interview question Brian himself, as CEO, would ask is he would ask basically how your future or your past interviews went, and then I believe the last question he would ask you would be, how lucky do you feel? How lucky do you feel is an extremely rewarding question in two ways. One, I've understood that it sort of looks back at a person and says, is this person successful? And have they realized it, right? So a person who, let's say, has not had any success or accomplishments probably won't feel very lucky. So that's kind of like good for understanding that part. Has this person accomplished anything worthy to themselves before? And the second part is, do they actually feel gratitude for achieving what they've done? Do they attribute it mostly to themselves, or do they attribute it to forces that are, let's say, a little bit beyond their control? So the general feeling is that if you get together a group of people in a company that all feel lucky, you're going to have a much more delightful and enriching culture than getting people together in a company that have a sense of entitlement, or that other people owe them things, or more of a self-centered way of looking at the world. I've subsequently asked many venture capitalists about whether or not they appreciate this question, and they all agree that this is actually a brilliant interview question. This is one of the questions that really reveals a lot about the nature of a potential candidate. Okay, so this is my best answer for what the idea behind this particular interview question is, and I hope this video will give you the context and an enriching framework to understand it.